This is part 4 of building a blog with Rails 5 and Bootstrap 4. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and set up authentication so that not just anyone can create a blog post. To get started, we're going to install a gem called Devise. If you go to github.com/platformatech/devise, you can find the documentation. I'm going to scroll down until you see getting started, and we're just going to follow these instructions. The first thing I'm going to do is jump back over to my code, open up the Gemfile, and I'm just going to put gem devise in here, save this, and then we're going to go back to our terminal. I'm going to stop my server, and I'm just going to bundle install. And you can see here, I already had this installed, and it says using Devise 4.1.1. For you, it may say that it installed it. If we jump back over to the browser, the next thing it says we need to do is run Rails generate devise install. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to abbreviate generate with G. And this is going to spit out some instructions that we need to follow to be ready to go. So in our environment.rb, we need to copy this. Oh, I read that wrong. In our development.rb, and I'm just going to paste this in here somewhere. And we already have our root URL. Ensure that in layouts application you have these, so I'm just going to copy these, and in our layouts /author, we'll go ahead and put it here just inside the body. Actually, I need to put these below the nav bar, I think. What else did it say? We're not using Rails 3.2, and for now I'm not worried about these Devise views. Next, I'm going to jump back over to the browser and look at what I have to do next. And looks like the next thing is we need to generate this model. So if we head back over to the terminal, we can run Rails g devise author. Actually screwed something up, so I had to back it up and run it again. This is what yours should look like. You should have a devise create authors instead of add to. So now if we go back to our code and look up create authors here, at the top I want to add a string of name. And now we should be able to go back to the terminal and run Rails db migrate. While we're here, we need to do one more thing. We need to say Rails g migration add author ID to posts. And then we're going to say author ID integer. And then we're going to go check out this migration here. So let's close this. Add author ID. So I'm going to in addition to adding the call, I'm going to add an index. Okay. And we're going to migrate this. And we should be good. So what this lets us do is set up a relationship between the post and the author. So we can say that a post belongs to an author. So essentially this author ID is the number of the row in the database that the author is stored in. So like if I created myself as an author, I'll be author number 1. And then every post I write will have an author ID of 1 that points at me so it can figure out who wrote it. So Rails has some handy things that will let us do that pretty easily. So once we set up those IDs, we can come in here into the author class and I can say has many posts, and then I can set up the other side of that in the post and say belongs, not balloons, belongs to, if I could type tonight I could say it belongs to the author. So that sets up our relationship for us. Let's check out the author. So Devise automatically set up some stuff for us. Now, we don't want random people to be able to sign up for the blog. If you do, then you can look into how you might manage this a little bit later. But I'm not thinking about it like that. So I'm just going to take out this thing. I'm going to comment out registerable. Actually, I'm going to move it up here. Just put it in with these other ones. And that should be good. Yeah, so what this is going to let us do is let people sign in, but they can't sign up, which means we will have to manually create them in our database. So I actually need to fix something else that I may have screwed up before. So everything's working fine, but to get Devise to work properly, we still need the application controller. So I'm going to create a file in my controllers called application controller.rb, and I'm going to copy the author controller, paste it in here, and application controller, and that works. And then our author controller and our blog controller, instead of inheriting from base, we're going to inherit from application controller. This seems a little smarter. And then we don't need that protect from forgery because that's already in the application controller. And the same thing here. Okay, so let's go back over to the browser and just see what's going on. So let's make sure that what we had before still works. Okay, it does. We still have about and contact and everything works. And let's see what happens if I go to authors/sign in. So what you notice is there's no layout, so we need to fix that, but we should be able to sign in here. So let's fix this layout. If we go back to our code and open up the application controller, I'm going to say layout and then for Devise. The other controllers, the author controller and the blog controller, handle their own layout. So the only layout that will be rendered by application controller or handled by that is really the Devise situation. So we can just say def for Devise, and then we can just say author. Actually, you know what? Let's try this. Let's just say author, because the only thing that's going to use the application controller is this. The other ones will be overridden by the author of the blog, so we might be able to just keep it simple. So let's refresh and just see what happens. Cool. And it's telling me I deleted a post. I still have some messages hanging around. Okay. So we have a problem right now. If we click on my post, you can see it. We set up a class called author. It's our model, and then it breaks this because we can't redefine a module with the same name as a class. So to fix this, I'm going to go back over to our controllers. We have a few things we need to rename. So the first thing I'm going to do is rename this file, or folder rather, from author to be authors, and you're going to have to get all of these right. It might be a little bit tedious, and I apologize. Then here, instead of author, it's going to be authors. Then in our routes, we need to change this from author to authors. And our views, we need to change the name of this folder. I believe we need to change the name of this to be authors. And then in the layouts, we might need to change this to be authors. Again, I apologize, I missed an S when we set this up originally. So now if we go back and refresh, it's going to tell us whether or not we did in fact fix it. No route matches get author post. Okay, that's because I just changed that. Uninitialized constant authors author controller. Let me restart my server, make sure I didn't screw anything up. Okay, so I did screw something up somewhere. Missing template layouts author. Okay, so let's start there. So in the, oh, I need to rename this. I tried to name it something fancy earlier and messed it up. So this needs to be author controller. And you know what? I screwed up again. This needs to be just author, not authors, because it's based on the controller name, not the module name. And this, that might be right. That might be enough to fix it. Okay, yeah, I think we're good. So we need to fix these paths now. So I'm going to, so I believe we need to look in our nav bar. And we have author post there. And if you command click, you can select both. And this is authors posts. Okay, so now we're back in action. If I click my post now, what happens? Okay, so I'm going to need to go through my posts and update these author posts and make them all plural. But if I look in here, this shouldn't be too bad. So we have author post, author post, author post. So add an S. This was actually never done correctly, so this is good to find. Index, new authors post. The new, it's, again, was never done apparently correctly. And edit authors and authors. So let's go click around and see if we've got it now. So we can do a new post. I'm going to go to Pexels and grab an image. How about this to be really cool and hip looking? So copy image address. And let's go to hip some and get some really hip text. Put that in both the body and the description. Aha, okay, so we need to fix the form. Alright, so I need to put in here, I think I need to say URL, and I need to say authors posts URL. Let's see if I can get that to work this time. I think I actually need to reload the page. And we see we have a few more broken paths. So in our post controller, we just need to fix author's post path. And I apologize again, but if you see that anywhere else, you just need to change it from author to authors. So let's see, did that get created? Yeah. Alright, so it looks like we're mostly back in action. Okay, so there are a couple things we need to fix really fast. I misspelled authors here. So that will get us going there. On the form, there's actually something kind of tricky here, because this is correct if we are doing a create action, but if we're trying to update an existing post, this won't work, and this form is used for both. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a variable called URL, save it. Then in our edit, or let's go to our new. So we're rendering form, post, and then I'm going to say URL and paste in that, which should make that work. And then for edit, I have to render in, or pass in rather, URL, and then I'm going to say, it's actually author post singular URL, and then we want to pass the post in. So let's see if we can create a new one and then edit it, and we'll know we're on the right track. Okay, so I did create it, and let's see if I can edit it. Okay, I missed a URL when I was fixing that stuff a second ago on the edit screen. So authors, so that should fix that. Let's add some A's, update, and we're good to go. So by now you're probably thinking, when in the world we're going to actually do some kind of authentication, since that's what this episode is about. So let's close down everything, and we're going to open up our author controller, and we're going to do before action authenticate author, exclamation point. Save that, and then let's go and refresh this page. So then anytime I try to do anything inside of my posts, it's going to tell me I need to sign in before I can do anything. I can go everywhere else just fine, but to get to my posts or anything that is in this author's namespace is protected. And that is the reason we went and we did all this work to try and organize this way, so that we have very simple security. Everything in the author controller is protected. And we could make an argument, I think, to go back and rename this stuff authors. I think it could be a little cleaner, but I'm not going to do that right now and make you watch me do all of that again. Anyway, so that's it for actually authenticating. So we need to create a user in the database so that we can test that we can actually sign in. So I'm going to open up a new tab in my terminal, and I'm going to run the Rails console, which I do running Rails C. So in here I can do author.create name Jim Bob Jenkins, email jimbob@test.abc, password, and password confirmation, password, and hit enter, and you should be good. Looks like all that worked out, and we can just type quit to exit. Now if I go back to the login screen and I type in jimbob@test.abc and password, now I can sign in. One thing that's a little bit alarming is that these are not my blog posts. I was not signed in when they were created, so that's something we need to fix. So I'm going to go back to my post controller, and you want to make sure you're in the one that inherits from the author controller. So right here we have post.mostrecent, but what we want is to have current author.post.mostrecent. So what we're doing is we're scoping the posts to be only the ones that are related to the to this author, and I'm going to do that for everything on this page. So now nobody can access a post that's not theirs in any way in the author area. And if we jump back to the browser and refresh, we should have no posts here. So let me create a post. And let me get this picture that I tried to do earlier. And we'll copy some more hipster stuff over here. And if I go to the home page, you can see my post shows up here as well as the other authors, whoever they were. So the next thing I want to do is fix this so that this doesn't show up if I'm signed out, and I also want to be able to sign out because right now I can't. Alright, so I'm going to go back and open up my nav bar, and this last bit here, I'm going to say if author signed in, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's have that in. And let's do the same thing at the bottom. And let's see what happens. So nothing, because we are signed in. So I actually need to be able to sign out. So to do that, I'm going to change the name of this link. I'm going to say logout. I believe it is destroy author session path is how we would do it. I don't need to yield anything to this because it's never going to be active. And I think I need method delete. Let's see what happens if I click logout. Awesome. And you can see the other one went away too. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this thing up top so that I can log out on mobile as well. And just going to copy the link. Alright, cool. So to sign in, you just need to go to /authors/sign_in. You can sign back in. So now we have a fully functional sign out, sign in functionality. And awesome. So that's it for authentication. And next time, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing yet, but we have plenty of stuff to add. So until then, I'll talk to you soon.